When HBO Max went live last month, one of the streaming service's selling points was its TCM-branded channel of Hollywood classics, including Citizen Kane, Singin' in the Rain, Casablanca, and Gone with the Wind, the Oscar-winning 1939 adaptation of Margaret Mitchell's novel, and, according to the American Film Institute, the sixth greatest American movie of all time. But on Monday, amid intense reflections on depictions of race and policing in popular culture after protests about police brutality, the filmmaker John Ridley wrote an op-ed in the Los Angeles Times pleading with HBO Max to remove Gone with the Wind from its streaming library. "It is a film that glorifies the antebellum South," wrote Ridley, who won an Oscar for the 12 Years a Slave screenplay. "It is a film that, when it is not ignoring the horrors of slavery, pauses only to perpetuate some of the most painful stereotypes of people of color." On Tuesday night, the service temporarily pulled the film from its catalog, citing the need for an explanation and a denouncement of the movie's depictions of race relations, presumably something similar to the outdated cultural depictions disclaimer offered on some titles on Disney+. In fact, Gone with the Wind is no stranger to controversy. Here's a quick explainer. As with Mitchell's best-selling novel, Gone with the Wind is set on a Georgia plantation during and after the Civil War. The protagonist is Scarlett O'Hara, Vivien Leigh, headstrong daughter of the plantation owner, and the primary focus of the narrative is her romantic exploits. But a fair amount of the film's leisurely 221-minute running time is spent on the struggle to keep the plantation afloat, and on Scarlett's relationships with the family's slaves, including Prissy, Butterfly McQueen, Pork, Oscar Polk, and Mammy, Hattie McDaniel, who won an Oscar for her performance, the first African-American so honored. As Ridley notes, the primary point of contention is the film's romanticizing of the antebellum South, and its whitewashing of the horrors of slavery. The film presents the region's pre-Civil War era as a utopia of tranquil living, and the Northern forces as interlopers, trying to disrupt that way of life. The servant characters are written and played as docile and content, more dedicated to their white masters than to the struggle of their fellow enslaved people, and uninterested in leaving the plantation after the war. And, much like D.W. Griffith's horrifying hit The Birth of a Nation, the film casts the freed slaves of the Reconstruction era as morally dangerous and politically naive. Most critics joined in a chorus of praise, and moviegoers flocked to theaters. It remains the top-grossing film of all time, when adjusted for ticket price inflation. The Academy was also impressed, giving it 10 Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Actress, Best Director, Victor Fleming, and, of course, McDaniel's statuette.